All right, everybody. This is Tom Clues from Health Tech Invest Podcast. I've got an exciting guest for you all today. His name is Paul Leschiner. He is a longtime friend of mine, so I've been so excited to do this podcast. We've known each other for 2 or more decades. We met in high school, and he's done really well for himself. He is a senior national account manager at Optum, where he focuses on 340B and all of the intricacies. So I'm excited to learn more about you, Paul, and learn more about what you do. But for all the listeners out there, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, first and foremost, Tom, thanks for having me on your podcast. Such a pleasure to be on and to connect with you. A little bit about myself. How many minutes do you have? So, first and foremost, I don't like to be too serious. I feel like we're all too serious in our profession. So I'm always lighthearted when it comes to my home, when it comes to, my job. So I try to bring that like light energy, that comic relief. Yeah, a single dad, have 2 girls at home, 12, almost 11. So they take up a lot of my time and really are my biggest motivations and inspirations when it comes down to it. They're kind of the engine that keeps me moving. Yeah, just personally, like I said, easygoing, fun-loving, adventurous, and a little bit like Jim Carrey and Yes Man, never say no to anything. Just so a little always up for something fun, safe, of course, most of the time. And then,
Your daughters are listening to this. Always be safe.
always be safe. And then, I have that other hat, that father hat. It comes on and it's like, just, hey, I'm kind of there and I'm very responsible and I love doing things with my daughters. It kind of brings me together. It kind of brings me joy. It makes me happy and gives me motivation to to do what I do and do it well, because honestly, that's what it's all about.
I love it. I asked the question to a lot of folks and they talk about their CV, but what I love about you is you're so genuine. You open up and you talk about yourself. And I love that about you, Paul. That definitely represents who you are as a person. I think for a lot of our listeners, this is definitely about the personal and the professional. But, a lot of our listeners are in the healthcare sector. And I know you're in health tech today. Tell us a little bit about your current role. And then if you can talk about it, of course, and then kind of what got you to the point where you're at today in your career.
Yeah, it's kind of a long journey, just to kind of speed it up a little bit. Tom, you and I knew each other quite a long time, since high school, and you were always a go-getter, when I really admired that about you and still do today. I think I call myself a late bloomer when it comes down to professional career success. What really kind of sparked my career growth was, as I said, the birth of my kids. It really just kind of woke me up and said, I need to be an adult starting today. And I had a few, I would say, just jobs throughout my time. And then I kind of fell upon the healthcare pharmacy world, PBMs. I worked with a few of our top pharmacy PBMs out there. I worked CVS. Then I kind of made my journey to Walgreens. And that's when I really discovered 340B. And this is kind of the realm that I've been in the last 10 years. And at this federal drug program. So 340B, it's the federal drug discount program. So it helps hospitals that are qualified, that have patients that are low income, uninsured. So it really kind of helps stretch those dollars and really help those hospitals reduce the cost of those medications by, I would say, yeah, so pretty much in half for the most part. Obviously, every drug is different. So it's really something that kind of helped me fall in love with the business. And it's really something that's a greater good for everyone. It helps the health centers, the systems, the centers, the clinics, and it really stretches out to the patient. So, my journey a lot was with these patients that are not able to afford their medication. Let's say you have some sort of a chronic condition. Let's say you have some sort of heart defect or something along the lines, cancer, and medication is really high end and
It's life saving. Yeah, it's life saving. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's vital. So it's kind of where I've been today. I've kind of been to a few companies. I made my home at Optum, which I call home by all means. It's
a great place. It's a great company. Yeah, it's a great company.
It's a great company.
So I look, Paul, I love, let's see, you made a couple of comments. You referenced PBM, and then you described 340B pretty accurately, right? It's a federal program designed to make drugs more affordable to patients at the downstream. But explain, what is a PBM? What the heck is that?
PBM, a pharmacy benefit manager. So just
Okay.
so a few. So yeah, there's a few organizations that have these PBM. So essentially, you hear the name Caremark or Optum. That's a pharmacy benefit manager. It kind of helps the downstream effect when it comes down to pharmacy and pharmacy operations.
Okay, got it. So they're kind of like a logistics, they're almost like a
It's
necessary element of the value chain,
And
right? So,
yeah, and I think there's so many intricacies when it comes down to pharmacy, much like any other healthcare. Just because a patient is being treated doesn't mean that, the facility that's being treated is able to treat that patient. There's a lot of factors. There's insurance, which could be a little bit of a complexity. There's networks. So PBMs are part of these large networks, or these pharmacy benefit management networks, and they offer a selection of pharmaceuticals, medication. So it's really just a downstream effect of having that access and accountability for medications to treat that patient holistically.
interesting. Very cool. Very cool. So it's really there for the benefit of the patient. I'm sure everybody, I look, I'm pretty aware of this ecosystem, just given that some of my limited partners at my previous fund were pharma companies, so pharma manufacturers. And I know that I think a lot of our listeners probably don't understand how well, some of our listeners might understand how the pharma value chain works, but I'm sure a lot of consumers question why the drugs are so expensive and why you need all these different third parties to kind of facilitate some of these costs. And I think the best way to describe it is pharma manufacturers put a lot of R&D costs into bringing these drugs to market, and their hands are tied when it comes to distribution, and they're not allowed to really interact with patients directly from a legal standpoint. So what happens is costs for the drugs are high because so much R&D went into them to begin with, right? And some of those end up being sunken costs. And then part two is pharma companies can't touch the patient, right? They can't interact. They can't care give. So you need these PBMs to help interact with patients. Is
Yeah,
that kind of how it works in your
yeah,
mind?
and so the PBMs is kind of, in a way, they help they're kind of that middleman, and they help negotiate price and discount with the various pharmacies. So they really help set that price range when the prices are too high. They are really kind of that middle man to get those discounts and set standards based on pricing for the various manufacturers through the pharmacy, through pharmaceutical manufacturer companies.
Got it. Got it. Got it. No, I mean, honestly, I think I've pinged you dozens of times over the last couple of years about this, because you're the one person I know in my network that understands 340B better than anyone. What was a critical step for you to learn 340B? Like what made you an expert in this industry?
Well, I mean, it started off as more of intrigue, and it was really just was lucky and fortunate enough to be part of a couple of great companies that had rapid growth. Walgreens and Optum being, I was there at the forefront where their pharmaceutical 340B growth was just starting out. So really, just kind of
Okay.
getting that front end experience early on, and what really made me passionate about it is that my assumption when getting into 340B space that it's pretty well known around the hospital world, and but at that point in time, and this is kind of going back 10 years moving forward, there are so many I call covered entities, clinics, health systems, and centers that do not have the awareness for 340B. So for me, the real passion here is just spreading the message, letting the hospitals know that there is a way for them to help and outreach a lot more of their community. So to me, I'm really passionate about that. And then obviously now I think 340B has become a lot more well known. So here, there's been a lot of struggles over the last couple of years when it comes down to 340B. There's been limitations, a lot of pushback with the various manufacturers. There's really, I would say, more hoops for the covered entities to really get those 340B savings. And really, the party that suffers the most, besides the hospital, are those patients who are in need. So it's really just the passion that I have today has changed a little bit. Before it was more like, hey, let's get everybody on board. Let's spread the message, get everybody to sign up for this program. Now it's more about let's keep this program going. There's been a lot more hoops. There's been a lot more hurdles. Let's get creative. Let's figure out a way. Let's work together. Let's talk to our partners. Let's talk to our customers and really figure out a way to make it work for everybody, because we want to make sure this program continues. We want to make sure these communities get served. We want to make sure that everybody is happy and healthy, which was, I think, Walgreens' old motto, I believe. So yeah, that's kind of the goal.
Very cool. So it sounds like Walgreens kind of shaped you, taught you what you know today, and now you're thriving at Optum.
Drill sergeant, yeah. Like it was a Walgreens kind of like, that was kind of my first call up to duty. And then, I think I graduated, and then now
Cool.
being here and being at Optum too, when their 340B program was starting to thrive as well, it was kind of a perfect time for me. So it was just because Walgreens, just a little bit so the focal point, and I think this is where everyone is going to. In the pharmacy realm, it's specialty medication. Obviously, the specialized drugs, $650 and over. There's gene therapy drugs, and obviously, those could be in the millions. And to think about the cost and then the effect a program like 340B can have on those is remarkable. Yeah, so I'm focusing on the specialty drugs and just some of those unique gene therapy drugs. So just kind of a fun fact as of today, and these numbers could change. I believe it's somewhere around 60 to 65% of all new drugs pending approval and the FDA are specialty drugs. So the focal point is specialty drugs, which, for critical disease states. And then, when it comes down to that, obviously the cost is significant. So that's something that I and my fellow partners in the 340B space want to help with.
Very cool. Very cool. No, that's really, really interesting. So, you kind of already started touching on this, but I'd be curious to get your thoughts on what are, based on where you sit today in your 340B role, what are some of the significant trends that you're observing enter the market? So you mentioned specialty pharma and cell gene therapy. Do you want to further unpack that, or do you have, some other trends that you're noticing in the market today?
So yeah, I think just specialty pharmacy has been the trend there. Obviously, I would say it's the only way. Is the way of the future. Those are most of the drugs, or kind of the majority that are being developed. Gene therapy as well. It's something that's, I think it's newer to me, so it's something that I'm trying to wrap my head around. But obviously, this is something that's a remarkable vision, and it's something that's working, and it's something that's in the future. It's going to be more. I'm hoping it's going to be more of the norm and more feasible, more affordable, more access to that as well. So in the 340B space is really just it's tough right now. It's kind of swimming upstream just because there is I would say it's a fight. It's a battle with to make sure that the program stays intact, and it's been a battle from day one. There's been so many different litigations. There's been so many court rulings and just protests and stops and starts, and it's been going. It's been around since 1992. So over 30 years now. But now I guess we're kind of heading into that time where it's very tough, and where the manufacturers are trying to set more guidelines around it. And really, my focal point is then just to help and preserve. So that's kind of
Interesting.
all the trends are around that. It's just how do we keep our program intact? And what can we do to combat any restrictions? How do we strive? How do we keep our 340B savings? And I'm kind of talking on behalf of the health systems and centers. And so my goal is to get a solution, figure it out, talk to my fellow 340B colleagues and see if there's a way. So that's kind of been a little bit of the, I would say, struggle, but I'm confident that everything will come to a point where 340B is going to continue and it's just going to continue move forward and continue its growth, especially with some of those specialty and the gene therapy drugs I mentioned. It's
Yeah. So
definitely very important.
it sounds to me like the biggest trend right now is, and from what you said, is just sustainability, right? So sustaining 340B and preserving its authenticity. Clearly, there are constituents that are trying to knock it down. Who are those? Like, who's the battle with? Help me understand that. Like, who is trying to take down 340B or diminish the size of the program?
Yeah. So really, and I know we touched upon, the various, so the manufacturers that are getting these drugs out there, and obviously when it comes down to getting these rebates out there, it's really rebates from those manufacturer pricing. So it's one of those things that the manufacturers need more visibility into. So they want to make sure that the hospitals have clear reporting that there's a certain I guess vessels. I would say the ESP is the one that's most known where you could report in certain manufacturers and to avoid any duplicacy of rebates from Medicare. So to avoid any any issues there. But really, that I would say to sum it up, it's all about yeah. I see the point from all sides, but it's a battle from the hospitals to keep their program intact. It's a battle from us, I would say, the 340B experts to help them there. And I guess, from the manufacturer side, I see their point of view as well. They want to make sure that that everything is up and right. So that,
Yeah,
but for my goal is different. It's just to make sure that because really when it comes down to the is those patients and the communities
that's right.
and treating the people that need to be treated, and helping those scarce dollars go a long way and really taking care of those communities because that's what those hospitals do day and night.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I think you acknowledge the other side in this, right? Obviously, you have a job to do. Your job is to you're patient focused, right? You're looking at the patient and you're saying, okay, what's in the best interest of the patient? Well, it's to give life-saving drugs at an economically viable price point, and that's what you're doing. I think you start swimming upstream, like you said, you run into pharma manufacturers that probably want more visibility into this pricing, right? And so I think the whole industry as a whole, it's really about connecting the dots and allowing all these different aspects of the value chain to talk to one another. And I think, again, preserving 340B, I think preserving or maybe tech enabling 340B in partnership with the pharma manufacturers could be a solution to it. I don't know. I hear you. It's all about the patient, and that's the number one criteria for me and why I do what I do, and I know it's why you do what you do. So that's pretty awesome, man. I'm going to change it up a little bit. We've been talking about, I think this is the longest 340B discussion we've ever had. I mean, we've talked about bits and pieces of it, but I don't want to just, bore our listeners with 340B. I think if they want to learn more, they can always reach out. But I kind of want to change things up a little bit. So I want to get more about your background, your personal side, right? Like I heard you talk about your daughters. You've always talked about your daughters. They're a huge motivating force. Is there maybe on the professional side, is there a particular individual or a leader in whether it's 340B or healthcare more broadly? Is there a particular individual or entity that has motivated you to do what you do and keeps your eye on the ball for doing great work for Optum?
You know what? There's been so many. Uh, Obviously, Optum, as I said, I call on my home. But the person that stands out to me, that's most important to me in my life, in my journey. And I kind of left Optum for a little bit and I came back. And one of the main reasons is for this individual. Is, yeah. And he's my direct boss. He's a friend. He's my neighbor. His name is David.
Cool.
And I'll tell you just about a little bit about him. The same thing I admire about you, I admire about him. This guy works day and night. He's so passionate about working, and not because he has to do it, because it's something that's kind of for the greater good. And and part of his passion is to work so hard, is just to make it easier on people like me. So he pretty much makes my job easier, and that's one of the reasons why I left and wanted to come back with open arms. And thankfully, that's just a place I go home, and I was able to come back here. And I really admire the person behind the work, because again, a family man, somebody who cares about the people around him, calls us and is friends with the people he works with, so makes it comfortable. To me, communication is so important when it comes down to anything. And I think healthcare is the same. I mean, it's very serious, but if you can befriend somebody, if you could make, yeah, I mentioned in the beginning, just making things lighter. If you could like get rid of those barriers and set a little bit more of a comfort level, it makes the job so much easier, makes your relationship so much easier, makes days fly by. And I, for one, feel a lot more motivated to come in every day to do my very best and just to kind of push myself harder, because I know that others are doing the same. And it just kind of gives me that extra motivation to do more.
Got it. That's awesome. I'm glad you have someone like that in your at your firm. I feel very similar. Our chief innovation or officer, SVP of innovation, Dirk Schapler at Natera, is that person to me. He very much inspires me to do great work. And yeah, I love that you have that individual, and it's great. You clearly done a great job for Optum. They took you back, and you're
Can
doing
you
what you
believe
love,
it?
and that's the most important.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, right.
I
What
gotta I
about
gotta
your
give it to you too, man. You motivate me all the time. I'm glad we don't talk as much as we should, but we're busy, man. We live busy lives, but I always
life
admire your
happens?
passion, your motivation, and the love for your family too. I really admire that more than anything, man. So
I
yeah,
appreciate
give
that.
you their kudos.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, obviously life happens, and we connect every now and then, but it's good. I'm glad as we were able to get this scheduled. I know your schedule's busy, mine is too, but this like I said, this particular episode means a lot to me. So, a kind of a follow-up question to that is, tell us a little bit about, have you ever had any like odd jobs, any weird jobs that you had that have defined who you are as a person?
Oh man, I was trying to think back memory lane, and I was just thinking if you and I were ever worked together when we were kids, but I don't think we had that distinct privilege. I
Yeah, we talked about it though.
I think my favorite job is when I worked at the movie theater, and
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
I don't. It's I was there as a kid, and my parents had to sign a form in order for me to be in rated R movies, because I think I was at 16 at the time. And
Oh wow, that's
I
a
would
big
just
deal.
finish out my shift, make some popcorn upstairs. I had a popcorn popper, and then I just go about my way. The funny thing about it is, one time I just set the popcorn on for too long, so I pretty
No.
much set the break room on fire. There was
Oh man,
fire,
was that your
yeah.
last day?
Yeah, it wasn't my last day, but that soon came
Oh
afterwards.
man.
I I didn't try as hard back then.
Yeah, sure, sure.
But it was
Setting
definitely
the break
fun.
room on fire that's an accomplishment.
Hey, it's something to top. Getting the fire department to come in, and
Really? Wow, that's the real
yeah,
deal. Oh
I
my
was
God.
caught red-handed, and
This would have been the this would have been the Randhurst Theater, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Don
that was
Prospero.
the last of it, man. It just set in flames. Uh,
Was this a big fire or was this just like a
it was
regular one?
sustainable fire.
Okay,
It
okay,
was
okay.
by the time the fire crew came in, it was out, but the smoke stayed for next 2 days. And as I came into work the next day and I just, took a whiff, I just had a chuckle.
Oh man.
I'm
Oh
sure
man.
my managers at the time weren't thinking the same, but it was pretty funny.
Well, if you didn't, if you hadn't admitted to that, I think the statute of limitations on the fire are over. So you're good. You're covered now. You can admit this on a podcast. But that's cool. That kind of teaches you humility, doesn't it? It teaches you how to like really, man. I mean, I think it's important to note that like, we're all human. We make mistakes, and you can't really beat yourself up about it, right? Like you make a mistake, you move on, right? So it's kind of
I
kind of
couldn't
wild.
agree more. I make so many mistakes even now, but this is kind of like the biggest learning
Ah,
for
yeah,
me is
yeah,
just, you make a mistake that I'd rather try and fail than not try at all. And I'm not talking about popcorn. Yeah, to
yeah,
me, what is it? To err is human, and that's something that I'm kind of highly motivated just to, because a lot of the standards have not been done before, and in the 340B space, and just the world I'm living in. So sometimes you
yeah.
make mistakes along the way, but you learn from them, and then you discover a better way and better process.
And you got to be honest, right? That's important. You got to be honest about mistakes, right? You own them. We find that our ecosystem and your ecosystem, it's all about trust. It's about trusting people, and to err is human, as you mentioned, but you also have to own it. If you don't own it, it's like you sort of you lack the humility. You lose humility in that process, and you lose the ability to actually learn from that experience, right? So it's good to be honest with yourself and people around you about the mistakes you make, right? So that's
16
pretty
year
awesome.
old 16-year-old me didn't want to be honest.
Yeah, okay, okay. I
But
see. I see how I see. It was oh man, I don't know what happened.
I
Just
don't know what
walked in
happened. Somebody came in. I don't know why I smell like smoke, but
and well, at least you're honest about being dishonest at that moment in time. That's good. That's good. Man, that's awesome, man. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about your approach to building and maintaining relationships in your line of work, right? So I think you've obviously got a lot of stakeholders that you have to keep apprised of and engage with. Tell us about your just general strategy behind relationship building and management.
yeah, that's a great question, and that's something I think is a strength of mine. It's something that, like, for me, everybody's human, right? It doesn't matter your title, it doesn't matter like your distinction. Kind of, you have to kind of level set, and to me, it's really just about kind of opening up, not talking shop, with my customers, clients the whole time. Is really just getting to understand who they are as people, finding out about their families, finding out what's going on with them, finding what's important for them, and really kind of build that trust. Because I feel like I could be I would say, a person that could talk business, or I call it a used car salesman, right? You could talk shop as long as you want. But for me, it's really just developing relationships and really just getting to know my business partners, and really kind of getting to the realm of what is important to them, and being on that same page, at same level. So, when I work with some of my clients, it's really, it's, I wouldn't say it's work at all. It's just like talking with you and I right now. It's getting to that relationship level where I would say there are no barriers. There's no weariness of me trying to push something to them that they wouldn't necessarily prosper from, but really just having that trust both ways, so that we are after the same goal, and be that partner. It just, like, to me, having that relationship is vital. I Having friendship, having trust is very important to me, and I'm a very loyal person when it comes down to that, and I treat the people that I work for, just like friends, just like family. I give them that trust, and that makes difficult conversations a lot easier, and it makes them more understanding when the news is not great, but they know that they're not in it by themselves. me and my constituents are going to be helping every step of the way.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've heard you say this on a few occasions today. You mentioned you giving them trust, right? You give them trust, faith, you believe in them. How do you think about how do you think about the universe of building trust? So you earning someone's trust. Do you find that, like I work in a very, I call it Japanese conglomerate hierarchy structure, right? Within Natera Global. So Natera is a Japanese corporate.
Mhm.
We have different hierarchy, and it's very traditional in that sense. And oftentimes, you have to earn the trust of the people sort of above you. What's your strategy to earning the trust of your superiors?
You have to show your worth. You have to, just if you have a meeting, if you have a connection and you discuss business points and action items, you have to be accountable for those. So, and not just be accountable, go above and beyond. So, the best way to earn trust and to earn trust quickly is to be a man of your word, do your job,
Yeah.
show accountability. Because I can talk till the cows come home, but it's all about understanding the cause and taking action. So I think just for me, I'm one that understands and I'm quick to take actions. I'm bold in taking steps to help, to fix, to adhere. So for me, I think the age old saying, actions speak louder than words. You
Yeah.
have to make clear communication and you have to take actions to build trust and earn that trust. So for me, that's something that I pride myself in. It's just being accountable.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Do you think it's easy to build? So you get into this, building trust and maintaining trust, but then, there's situations where trust is lost and you have to regain it. What's your sort of mindset about, the ebbs and flows of human relationships, right? So you've lost trust in someone, you have to regain them. What's your sort of mindset around that?
Yeah, I think the worst thing somebody can do that I can do is just avoid the problem. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
discount it. So you kind of have to face it head on.
Try to move past it, right? Try to
Yeah.
move past it as opposed
Yeah.
to address it.
You
Yeah.
you you said it right. It's just you address it. If there's an issue, you put together a plan to fix it, and then you kind of you learn from it and move past it and move forward. And sometimes, actually, when speaking of trust situations like that, help build relationships when things don't go
Yeah.
according to plan. Kind of
Interesting.
now you're in it together. Now you're a team and you're trying to figure it out. So I feel like that helps build trust quickly when things don't always go accordingly. Because hey, now we have to scramble. Now we have to figure it out, and now we have to focus on areas of improvement, and we have to work together to make sure everything's up to par. So it really kind of
Interesting.
speeds up that process.
Have you ever had a situation like that where you were in, everybody was there was a everybody you were on a team or you were in a one-on-one relationship with someone and you were dealing with something that you didn't expect to happen. It was a precarious situation. It wasn't the ideal situation. And you had to scramble and maybe quickly build trust with that person to accomplish a task. Any kind of, I guess that would be a struggle, if you will, in the workplace. Do you have a situation like that that you'd be willing to share?
Yeah, I think that happens quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, but I think one large health system that I work with, it really just working with the pharmacy team, I really wasn't getting anywhere, and it was something that was it was a lot of communication and going one way until there was an issue. There was an issue with inventory. There was something that was systematic, and I kind of took it as, hey, this is a great call to action. Let just don't push it off to the various teams. Let's kind of take a leadership approach and let's kind of focus on all your issues and handle it. So for me, just personally, making sure that all the problems kind of had, and not all of them got fixed right away, but just that we had a mitigation plan, and bringing that to that particular health system and to that leadership team really showed my value. And then just following up and giving updates. And so in turn, we go from a health system that I barely can get a hold of for years to, having, hey, well, hey, let's text each other. Hey, we're going to be at a conference. Let's connect. Let's go out for dinner. So it's one of those situations that kind of came full forth. And, just sometimes when you see an opportunity to build that trust, and some trusts are harder to build than others.
So it sounds like you this was like a customer. So this was like a customer. They were ghosting you, right? They were ghosting you, and you had completely rebuilt the relationship.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been ghosted quite a bit, but in my personal life, I'm hoping you could cut that out. But no, I think just hey,
ghosting happens. Ghosting happens. Yeah,
it's one of those things you have to be persistent. It doesn't matter. You shouldn't really let any deterrent retract you from your end goal. And you're there for a reason. You're helping a customer. You're helping a conglomerate. You're helping a system. You have to know the purpose, and it doesn't matter if no one's picking up the call, if they're ghosting your meetings or whatnot. You just have to be persistent, and because at the end of the day, you have something valuable that's worth talking about, that's worth addressing. So you just have to know just to kind of keep going and just to move forward.
That's it, isn't it? It's really about, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's about aligning yourself in a role or a professional service or job that you can truly be behind and that you believe is very valuable to a customer or to a group of individuals, right? And it's getting behind that and being proud of that, right? That's the key to success, right? It's finding something that is very valuable, and then you find a customer of that valuable product or service, and you bring those worlds together, right? And if you can hang your hat, on that, right, then you got nothing to worry about. It's all about execution. It's about focus. It's about maybe some creative strategies and execution. But at the end of the day, it's about being proud of what you're sort of representing. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I feel like that's when you tell me about what you've done, what you accomplished, that's what 340B is to you, right?
Absolutely.
It's a valuable offering to patients, and you're getting behind that, the execution of that, and trying to get that to as many patients as you possibly can.
This is the easy part, getting to people to buy in. I feel, I'm very privileged in life. I came here from Ukraine when I was young. I have a Jewish background, and seeing the struggles of the places that I call home, the things, and I just, for me, this is the easy part. I feel very lucky to be here, and I just want to do my part to kind of help out, to really kind of push myself forward. And because my parents came here for a reason, to give me, my sister, a better opportunity. And obviously that's what I'm here for, and just to help spread the message and really just help with the same notion that my parents were here, to just give I would say the same opportunity, but give opportunities for people to better themselves. And if I could help in any way, shape, or form, then it's amazing. And that makes my day so much better and brighter.
Awesome. I love it. That's amazing. Really, look, Paul, I really appreciate your time. This was a wonderful conversation. I'd like to have you back on the podcast once we've, we've started to build our base, right? We're at the very early stages of building this podcast ecosystem, but I will definitely have you back on to hear how things are tracking for you. And, we'll catch up in the future. But for now, what's your sort of call to action to our listeners, and where can they follow you in your work?
Yeah, call to action is just awareness, just to really just be aware. And obviously I work in the 340B space, so that's where I talk about.
Yeah.
I say just be awareness and just say, I would just kind of bring it down a level. I just that there are so many people out there that have ailments and they need treatment and they're not able to afford it, and then there are ways for them to help to get help, and just kind of getting more awareness around it really helps. It really helps because there's a lot of uh there's a lot of tough, let's say, I wouldn't say opposition, but it's really hard to kind of maintain that. And I just be conscientious that there's always people that need something more than you do. There's always people that are in need, and really the best way for anyone to help is just by getting out there, learning more, being getting behind something like 340B or a cause that helps. So it's really just spreading the word, getting knowledge, and understanding that there's definitely people that need help. And I would say for myself that a lot more than I would, and just kind of being open minded about it and seeing what we as a community can do to help those individuals.
That's awesome. Where can we follow your work? Where can people reach out to you?
Yeah. I don't have a website as of yet, but I'm on LinkedIn, just Paul Leschiner. Just
Awesome.
find me on there, message me, reach out. I would love to chat anytime. I'm very open, so yeah, no questions are off limits.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's Paul Leschner. Last name spelled Leschiner. We will post it on the podcast episode. The name will be on there. But thank you so much, Paul, for your time. For all you listeners out there, I'm Tom Clues. Thanks for joining us on Health Tech Invest, where we promote great people, great entrepreneurs, and help spark innovation. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thanks so much, Tom.